Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. Now, we are joined by Neil, Refracted Curvature, Eli, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Did you miss part of your like intro?
Yeah, I'm mixing it up a bit.
Okay, because we were talking about that the other day. We believe you're reading from something.
Believe I'm reading from something? No, I've just said it so many times that if you go back through the times, it does subtly change occasionally. But no, I'm not reading anything.
That you're not reading.
I said this yesterday. I don't have a script in front of me because I don't have a desk in front of me. I don't even have a keyboard in front of me. What are you talking about? You think I've got some sort of
Prove that you're not reading something.
No, definitely not.
Yeah,
reading.
but hold on a second. And the Godfather, Marlon Brando, had his lines written on the ceiling, on people's backs when they would turn to them. I found this all out the other day.
Well,
I'm not saying you are, Nathan. I'm only breaking your chops.
There's two different terms, right? There's script and scripted, right? So if something is scripted, it means that it's written down and you learn the lines. However, you can be on a script. So when we talk about Dave Weiss going through his blurb, that's him going through his script. When I say begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve calculator, that's part of a script. Now, that's not to say I'm reading it off something. It's just other people might call it rhetoric. Yeah? But it's not written down. It's like the intro. I've developed the intro over time. It's adapted. Go on, John. John, your mic's wide open.
Oh, crap. Sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. I thought you had something to add. You were so great in the pre-show. You were getting so much praise.
He actually wants to ask George a question. I'm sorry to take you off with the script.
Well, fine.
That's not important.
No, that's fine. If you want to ask a question, I've got to fill the live audience and know what we're talking about, so I'll do that in the meantime. So about 18 months ago, John had a skit with Bunk and Debunk explaining how if you take perspective measurements in your kitchen, you can extrapolate out a curved surface to your whole house by those measurements. In the same way, Earth curve is a hijacking of perspective in that rhetoric I just led with a minute ago to explain that I'm not on a script. Nevertheless, George has then gone forth to put that to a baller. Now, from what I'm hearing in the pre-show, and I'm still a little bit skeptical about this baller has essentially conceded that all of his measurements are flat, therefore has turned to a flat earther as a result of his own measurements and own examples. I'll just put one of these up on screen now so you can see what we're talking about. In terms of their assertions of how they measure as a baller a flat earth. Now, that's what I'm saying we should all be leading with in 2024. We're flat earthers, for heaven's sake. Let's lead with our earth's measured flat, because it is, for everyone, including ballers, and in this case, a convert, and the first one. But alongside this story comes George's story of how he has basically utilised the bunk and debunk argument of how you can turn your house into a sphere by the same extrapolations that the ball earthers use with Earth and perspective. So that's the conversation that's been taking place in the pre-show, and John's got some questions for George, or the other way around, I forget which way.
Yeah, I was going to ask George, did his opponent calculate his living room as a sphere, or did George do that?
Well, he was asserting that he was doing that, transposing from mountains to mountains, and it would have excess and giving the sphericity to the plane. So I gave the example. So what you're saying is that my living room is actually spherical, because what you're doing is you're taking the first height, like the height of a chair, for example, in my living room, and then measure the angle to the sofa, and then the angle to my table, and then the angle to my TV, and in the end, you're gonna tell me that the surface of my living room is actually spherical. I didn't know I had a spherical living room. I said. But ultimately, I said to him that he must be a flat earther because every single projection that you are showing to us, it requires a flat plane. He gave us quite a few examples of elevation angles. He described them accurately. And I gave him props because he's been doing this surveying thing for quite some time, and he's been measuring it flat. He's just not realizing it, how flat it is. So he ended up agreeing with us, and his role has been changed to a flat earther.
Did you follow that, John?
Jesse Kozlowski is now a flat earther.
No, not a different
No,
Jesse.
it's not Kozlowski.
That's not a major on the
Different
minors. Stop. The scale was given in the big scale with mountains. George then took that example and put it in the small scale, a la bunk and debunk.
Okay. Yeah, that's how I did it.
I got to hear from this guy first. I got to hear him say he's a flat earther. This all sounds
You
good.
have the depictions
let's
there.
see.
You have the depictions there. 4 different diagrams. Every single one of them requires a flat plane as depicted. Baseline. Yeah, you have one particular there with 4 different mountains in the distance. Every single mountain's zenith is running 90 degrees to the surface and 90 degrees to the observer. I mean, all of this can only be done if you do it exactly as depicted. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for quite some time. I only gave him props. Yeah. Thank you once again for another picture debunking the argument, because you must know these things. For you to draw these in a piece of paper and share it with us, I mean, you got to know these things because this is exactly what we are saying. This is the geometry. No curvatures in here. Baselines, surface line, level line, zenith lines, 90 degrees, elevation degrees. Yeah, that's how it works. Thanks, Jesse.
Brilliant. Shimon.
Sorry, I'm taking it back.
Your reaction is my reaction. I know you were here while I was listening to it earlier, John, but you obviously were away from your mic. I was a little bit taken aback too. You're like, okay, because it's working. Now, I was mocked by my own wife about this because she's pointing out to me that I'm telling flat earthers to point out that Earth's flat. That's in essence all we're doing here. But in practical terms, when you put the Earth is measured flat to an opponent where they also must measure Earth flat, that's incredibly impactful for everybody watching. Eli, you're off mute.
You ain't
Obviously, they still have some cognition, There's still some double speak attached to it. It's still new to the whole thing. But he is actually measuring everything to be flat.
I think it's only appropriate that we have a few moments silence for our fallen globe brethren in this regard. They too measure Earth flat. That's correct.
Yeah, it seems like the globers are catching on quicker than the flat earthers.
If they profess to know how they're measuring it, then they're going to measure it flat, right? The flat earthers have had nothing but a belief for the last 10 years. At least the globers were hijacking actual measurements of a flat Earth and then postulating that those measurements that make them so much smarter than the flat Earth believers, which strictly speaking to an onlooker it does. But the onlooker doesn't realise that the measurements in the first instance have come from a flat plane. We realise it. Now we're going to point it out in 2024 so that people who come here hear this discussion. This is basically the ideal discussion that I would hope to have in 2024. That's why there's lots of protracted silences, because I can't quite believe my ears. We're not even halfway through January.
Yeah, I think that was the issue yesterday, too, because a certain party has sort of like a belief and not a knowing, because he said The only thing that would bring me back to the ball is sunsets and the way the sun works. So you have to know the earth is flat. Otherwise, you're going to be pulled left. You're going to be pulled right. It's measured flat. It's over.
Okay, any evidence that you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
Did you not hear what I just said?
Is there any evidence that you can do this?
Negative. The guy
That is-
tried yesterday, right? And he measured his kitchen, right? It's not spherical.
Were any of you participating in the group call I had in Skype earlier this morning?
I was there. I think it's a brilliant idea. Push it forward.
Nobody knows what we're going to talk about. Anybody else other than Neil? I'll discuss it when there's a few people. Like with the group call, Neil, I just want to check if there's a couple of people who've been privy to this prior to me discussing it with the public.
I was there, Nathan.
Oh, you were?
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. We've got one person in Discord and one person in G+. That's ideal. Great. Good. We will discuss this now. Title of today's show is Sleeping with the Enemy. Now, I have, in my humble opinion, spotted something in one of our opponents, who we've covered a couple of times, called Planet Peterson, where there was various aspects of his video, which I've not actually watched, I'll be honest. I watched it via Flatsoid, so I'll just disclaim that straight away. But while Flatsoid was covering Planet Peterson's response to our response to his video, glad we didn't do it, that would have got confusing quick, was to at least hint at me that he had a certain degree of humility that is lacking in many of our opponents. The other problem that I saw for him was that his knowledge was sorely lacking. Now, currently, we are moving forward on the front foot in hopefully all instances with how Earth is measured flat. And there's a whole wealth of knowledge, anti-flat earther knowledge, that has been acquired by us, the winning side of the debate in that regard, that I'm saying, well, we've won. You know, there's the amount of people that say, well, there is no debate, and I concur. But for the fact that people don't know who we are, there would be no debate because everyone would know who we are and know how the arguments work, and therefore would, if they're up to 2023 at least, understand how this sphere doesn't work. But there is a whole, like I say, wealth of knowledge that I'm essentially casting to one side. Now, that isn't to say that it's not useful. And there is a certain potentially mutually beneficial relationship that can be built up with someone like, and it may not be this example, but it may be, you know, I'll approach him and find out, but with someone like Planet Peterson. What do I mean? Well, Planet Peterson is sorely lacking in his heliocentric knowledge, and in order to be in a winning position in terms of debate, you've got to know your opponent's argument better than they do to be able to overcome them. Now, given that we're talking about how Earth in the first principle is measured flat, there is a surplus requirement to understand any of that stuff. It's not to say that you won't have to, as we've already discussed many, many times, have to oppose it if somebody puts that to you and you have to respond to it, then yeah, you better be up to date with the flat Earth debate in that regard, because if you don't know your heliocentric stuff when it's put to you, you may not be able to overcome it. But it doesn't change the first foot that you put forward in this subject in terms of how Earth is actually dealt with and measured. That would be flat. So there's all this knowledge that's milling around with myself included in the panel in their heliocentric expertise. And who are we going to give it to? I'm literally going to condemn people on my own panel if they try and do it as an opener. If we're not dealing with a fundy on the panel, I'll stop it entirely. So what do we do with this knowledge? Well, there's budding anti-flat earthers who, in this case, at least on the surface to me, with a response video by Flatsoid to a response video from us to a video by him, he seems reasonably amiable. And furthermore, this is the only reason why I might approach him to actually do this. This is Planet Peterson. Willing to admit when he doesn't know things. Shocking, isn't it? Quote, I don't know what he's talking about, end quote. Now, as soon as I heard that quote, this went through my mind. I'm like, okay, so you're in a position where you would benefit from learning the intricacies of the heliocentric argument. So I put all this to my panel, so to speak, on a Skype call with various individuals, two of which are here now, in terms of how can we benefit from him, obviously reaping all the rewards of gleaming heliocentric knowledge from us. And secondly, if he's going to gleam it from us, he's got to have something in it for him to know that he's not just going to get attacked or debated with. So the way I phrased it to the panel when I'm suggesting this is to say, as we basically disseminate the correct information for him to better himself in his peer group, that's anti-flat earth, in terms of acquiring the exemplary knowledge that we now have and I am decrying, but without any combative, what would be the word? If it was a gun battle and at any point he decided to shoot because he decides that you're wrong, I'm furious and I'm going to make that clear, I would have to agree to him that I would lay down and just let him, and then wait till he'd finish barraging my face with bullets until I got it back up again, brush myself off and go, right, now can we continue with you in your heliocentric endeavours to understand how it actually works correctly. So what's in it for us, you might say? Well, hold on, aren't you just suggesting that you educate a heliocentrist better in their rhetoric? Well, yeah, what's in it for us? Because obviously I've got a flat earth audience now. Well, what's in it for us is that they have an algorithmic advantage. We used to have it back before 2018 or whatever it was, that they spoke to Congress and told basically flat earthers to get lost in the algorithm. But Peterson isn't stifled by that in any way, shape or form. So all I can try and glean in terms of advantage for me is a mutually and public agreement that there is a sort of symbiosis in terms of this discussion that he and I would take place in or take part in between each other, where there's a mutual respect, which I feel someone like Peterson, it might not be him, he might just tell me to get lost if I approach him, but someone like him would benefit from being a better educated anti-flat earther and wouldn't be in an embarrassing position like Simon Dan, where they're denying their own rhetoric, like you and your reference frames are ruined. But I can very easily see someone like Peterson who is too late, he's missed the boat. They've already got a Simon Dan, so you don't need somebody who's just very amiable, who doesn't really matter if he's getting it wrong. There's no niche to carve out for Peterson. Well, I certainly can't carve out an anti-flat earth niche, short of relinquishing all my morals, but I can potentially find a union with somebody who definitely isn't being favoured in the algorithm, but I can say, look, this is what I've got to offer you. You can potentially better yourself in your arena and gain the algorithmic love that I desire, but I can piggyback off that if I've got a link to my video of us discussing this, and occasionally you, which will definitely get in views, hammering me because I've agreed in principle to lay down my arms whenever you want to do that. So you'll have loads of clips where you're basically battering a well-known flat earther who's, at least in my own community, I would like to think is reasonably respected. So that's his advantage. I get to educate him in globe and piggyback off his algorithmic love that he'll get it as his understanding improves. Starting with things like the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, something which he openly admitted and is the reason he'll be the first I approach with this. He may not be the last, because as I say, he may tell me to get lost. To say, here you go, I publicly would like to align with you to go through the heliocentric rhetoric in detail, not so I can debunk it, so that you can be better educated in it. And if you feel that I'm unreasonably representing it and need shouting at, I will allow you to do so, just to show that this is absolutely going to be for my mutual benefit if you, obviously conditional, snag the algorithmic love that you're obviously seeking. Because he's not a popular YouTuber. May have been popular on TikTok, but that's a transition I would assume every TikToker wants to make. Well, here he is. He's not popular yet for me to say I can make you, more popular than he isn't already. But we, having been in this arena for 10 years and having seen some of the algorithmic love before it was taken away, have other advantages to offer an anti-flat earther in terms of how to gain that algorithmic love from YouTube. We're very experienced. We may not receive it, but how can I snag it? Well, I've got to, as the title suggests, sleep with the enemy in order to achieve it. Now, when I pitched this, I appreciated immediately that when you hear it as an audience member live, you might go, what? You're telling me you want to help an anti-flat earther understand his own globe rhetoric better? Put him in a better position to argue with you? And not only that, in order to get him to agree to be better educated in his own rhetoric, you're willing to lay down all arms and take abuse from him when he feels that you're wrong? Yeah. Just to get algorithmic love. Yeah. That's basically the position that
That is genius. That's genius. That is genius.
I want to know from the audience. I'm going to go to the comment. You weren't involved in the call, John. I'm not sorry to cut you off after giving you so much love earlier. I actually want to know from the audience. And if you want to join, as I say in the beginning, right, it's true for this as anything else. If you want to join in this discussion, hopefully the room's not too full for anybody to get in. Join the Discord link, and you can offer your opinion on this too. Because the last thing I want to have is people, no offense to you, Bob, rest in peace, saying, "Well, you're just sleeping with the enemy. All you're doing is helping them. There's nothing else that gives us any advantage." So,
no, it's a difference. It's a difference in how you're doing it, Nathan. And I said that this morning too. It is genius.
okay, so we'll go to the comments. Hopefully, with a couple of minutes elapsing, there'll be a few comments on this specifically. And I'll reference what people think about this, because it is quite literally sleeping with the enemy and having to make concessions so that he knows, hold on, this is weighed in my favour. Now, although it's speculative, Brian says don't mention this in terms of the pitch. If I was to, let's keep it hypothetically, Planet Peterson that was approached, and I probably will approach him. Like I say, in terms of sales, there's probably going to be 10 people I approach before one of them say, yeah, okay, I actually see the advantage and what you would have to sacrifice in order to offer it to get, for you, at least only a meager advantage should they be successful algorithmically. Because it's not like I'm going to grow at the same rate as somebody who's actually being favoured in the algorithm for their improved knowledge, right? But I can potentially piggyback off it, where previously there is no route into us getting any algorithmic love. The amount that sharing the show and putting Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me on a comment, if they don't like us, they can just wipe that out as a YouTuber instantly. So, you know, it's hit and miss. But if I have to collaborate with somebody who is essentially in the same arena because he's our opponent, to piggyback off him to get some algorithmic love, there's quite a lot I'm willing to sacrifice as a YouTuber to get that, but not at the risk of my integrity, you know, because the easier route is cut him out completely, start a new channel, put on a voice changer, and just go through heliocentrism better than everyone else who's there, right? But obviously that would mean a massive moral sacrifice that I am absolutely not prepared to do. But he's not in that position, right? He actually believes the position that he's going to be learning more about, to the point where hopefully he would understand things like perspective hijacking in terms of orthographic representations and curve calculations and all the stuff that he seems to be, no offence to you if you're listening, Planet Peterson, pretty ignorant of. Let's have a look at the chat. Got Uncle Ben says fool. Got a few people just saying hello. No spoilers, please. Shout out to Uncle Ben. Shout out to Price of Adam. Good to see you, everyone. Yeah. Anybody actually commenting on this? I had QE the other day when he went to the chat for the same purpose. He's like, I don't know why I'm even bothering with this. Got lots of comments about Earth being flat, Earth being measured flat. I don't know you're about. No, there's really nothing in here. Okay, well, thank you, public. Obviously, not massive guffaws of objections to what I'm proposing. At the very least, that's all I can glean from what we've had in the chat. Thank you. But nice to see you all. Oxbow Spirit, good to see you. Mr. Jones, nice to see you. Bible U, Oz, good to have you all. Is it Colonel Angus? Who else I haven't said hello to? I missed anybody? Tanya, nice to see you. Dr. La, good to have you. INFE, nice to see you. Oxbow Spirit. Joko, or Jekko, or however you say it, nice to see you. Yeah, I think I've done everybody. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. All right, now it's time to get the feedback from the panel.
Nathan, you're our fearless leader. We follow you. We agree. Go get it.
Yeah, you say that till you're hearing me clipped out and seeming like I've lost badly to Peterson. Then you'll be maybe objecting, Neil. But I'll remember this when you...
But that's it. Hold on. That's an impossibility. Because the globe is a lie. There's no way you could lose or even appear like you're losing.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice to have an opponent who actually understands how their argument works and is taking advantage of some of our knowledge we've acquired over the last 10 years, specifically about heliocentrism?
Absolutely.
Right. Like I say, we may not carve out our own algorithmic love through doing that, but what other options do I have? Yeah, maybe someone can let me know if you've got contact with me and you know how I can get in touch with that guy, because I don't know him from Adam. Planet Peterson is his name. If someone can acquire me an email address or something of that nature, so I can drop him a line and say, I come in peace. This is an idea. Feel free to say no. I'll just move on to next man and make it quick if you don't want to do this. However, if you do, I can see a lot of advantage to you with a friendly, self-declared, not going to attack you. In fact, quite the opposite. Allow you to attack me if you choose to do so while I'm trying to impart better globe knowledge on you. Because we've got abundance of this knowledge and I'm trying to cut it out my show while I've got a whole panel, a whole network of people that can provide exemplary knowledge because I've spent 10 years studying it. The ins, the outs, the ups, the downs, all of it.
Nathan, doesn't Mighty Mush have contact with him? I thought I heard him saying something the other day about this Planet Peterson guy.
I just watched his
I
video.
thought he was in touch with him. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not in contact with him. But Nathan, he did say he will debate you on evolution. He was so confident about that. He was laughing at you. He said, you don't know anything about evolution. It was been proven by science. And he said he will debate you on evolution.
I mean, fine.
Proven by science.
Maybe that's what I've got to concede to, because this is a very weak subject of mine. So maybe losing badly to him on a debate about evolution, so someone can be calling me a numpty in clips where I get it all wrong. Maybe that'll be something I have to concede to convince him that, look, I want to go through your knowledge of your subject to the point where you are finely tuned as a globe proponent, rather than declaring to the audience that you don't understand something I've said. I'm your opponent and you should know my arguments better than I do. You don't. It's the other way around. But that to me seems like it's a win-win for him if I was to put that to him. Now, don't get me wrong. He might just see me as the enemy and therefore why would I ever want to have my own rhetoric educated to me by you? Well, because it's good viewing, because people will watch it, because you're growing the algorithm for it. Especially if I've already conceded in advance that were you to disagree, I'm going to have to sit back in my seat and tolerate it while you rant at me. But I'll be publishing it, you'll be publishing it, you'll be trimming out the bits that are advantageous to you, and potentially, if there's a link to my video, and obviously it's a discussion between you and I, cross-promoting, that's a YouTube advantage only to me, isn't it? So therefore, you can see that I'm not just doing it for nothing. Therefore, obviously, I'm going to be trying to get a gotcha on him. I need to impart that I'm not doing this to try and get a gotcha on you. Whereas if we enter into a debate over evolution, that's the only purpose. One of us is trying to get one over on the other and win. Whereas if we start from a different position, maybe don't enter into debate, as it might be starting off on the wrong foot if we did that, actually, thinking about it. But nevertheless, somehow convince him that that is not attached to an ulterior motive to get one over on him. But merely with the YouTube hat on, I don't get any algorithmic love. That's why I appeal to every single respondent to put my link in their video. Whether or not he did, I don't know. If he sees me as just the enemy and is like, screw you, I'm not putting a link to you. Like, okay, yeah, I understand that attitude. I'm your enemy. However, if it was a mutually beneficial agreement, relationship, where both of us are not debating, but going through the wheres and wherefores of not flat Earth, but the globe. Specifically, I don't need to debate flat Earth with him, right? And we, moving forward on the front foot, don't need to talk about how the globe operates. Earth's measured flat. So, as far as I'm concerned, the detachment leaves an opening for a knowledge base that is not being exploited. Who's going to exploit it? What am I going to do with that? If I start putting Brian on the spot to start going through how heliocentrism or orbital motion works, then who's going to want that from the flat Earth side if I'm literally contradicting it? Well, they're not. I'm going to shut that stuff down. But how do you pitch that to some YouTube benefit? Well, you've got to have a friendly glober. Somebody who's actually, that's why I picked him in the first place. It's a great example. He seems like he's got a bit of humility. Detachment leaves an opening. Say again, Reg? You might have just been hot micing. Something about an opening. Okay. Well, anyway, I don't know if the audience has got anything more to add, if they've twigged to what I'm proposing. Like I say, I'll propose it. If I get some contact details for Planet Peterson, he may be the first person that I contact in this regard. And hopefully you'll see the advantages that can be revealed from people with an exemplary knowledge of his subject matter that he's trying to algorithmically break into. I'm glad you've all got a lot to say about it.
I like it. It seems like you're trying to use the algorithm against itself in a way.
Well,
Seems like he's doing something other than just sitting on the show. Way to go, Nathan. Get out there. Let's get it going. We should be mainstream by now. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, well, again, don't be disappointed, as I've already disclaimed, Neil. If I managed, let's say it was, we've got to keep it hypothetical for now. Let's say Peterson agrees and he's like, yeah, hell yeah. I can see how that's going to definitely get me a lot of views. And he gets them, right? And true to form, he keeps my link in there. It's me and him talking, so obviously people are going to be well aware who I am, right? And I grow 1% of the growth he gets, which is what I would anticipate getting out of him and I discussing stuff on both he and my channels, and a link for he and I on either or channel. Yeah, he won't get any advantage from his link being in my video, but algorithmically I will advantage to the tune of about 1% when he grows, if he grows. Yeah, well, you might look at that and go, man, this is massively skewed in his favor. Yeah, it had to be to entice him. And yeah, you could quantify it as being minimal in terms of growth. Yeah, minimal's better than none. Exposure, that is. So ultimately, I'm offering information for clout. That's the trade. A minimal amount, because he'll get a lot out of it, I believe. And again, Brian was quick to say, no, don't sell him on that, because that's speculation. He might not get anything out of it. So just sell him on what you can actually give him, which is the impartation, if that's the word, of the knowledge itself, exemplary, that we have, that is being condemned currently in terms of the format of this show. Got to use it for something. Might as well use it to educate a baller who will essentially be put in a better position to debate with us. Great, that sounds great too. I'm bored of dealing with the numpties that don't understand their own rhetoric. Would I want to debate Planet Peterson as it stands? No. But if you want to look at it this way, you sharpen up the tool for your opponent and get them trained up better, and then they're going to push you further, aren't they? So there's advantages for me in that regard if I put positive spin on it. But in reality, that is just what I said, positive spin. Because the only real advantage that I would seek and would hopefully achieve, speculatively, because he's got to succeed for me to succeed, he's got to get out to more people by a factor of about 100 for me to get a little bit of algorithmic love off the back of it.
But the thing is, all the anti-flat earthers watch you, and then they disseminate stuff to their audience about you. The thing is, if they seen a glober berating you and you taking it, that glober would be a star overnight.
Yeah, that's something else Neil
How
condemned.
is it? Hold on. How is it ever going to get berated? How?
No, I'm glad you said it. I pitched that too, and again, Brian was the first to condemn it. He's like, don't sell him speculative stuff, because he's giving me the pitch when we were discussing this, right? Which is to say, if you're going to pitch something you can actually give him. The information, the knowledge, the understanding is all real. And in terms of when it's being put to him, if he objected, when literally what he's getting is an education in Globe, then I'm going to have to say, in those circumstances, I'm going to just lay down my arms and say, okay, fine, you off you go, fine, I'll wait till you're done. I'm not going to debate you on this, because it's Globe information, right? So from that point of view, offering up the speculation of being a Globe hero because he's getting the opportunity, that isn't the be all and end all of what I'm offering him. I'm not saying what I'm dangling in front of you is the opportunity to berate me. Yeah, no idiot in their right mind would ever offer that. I've just got to give him the impression that no, my aim isn't to get one over and win you in a debate when we're discussing your betterment of understanding of Globe. That isn't what I'm trying to achieve. I just want the algorithmic love. You and I talking about it would require potentially a guest speaker like Brian to come along. But if Brian comes along and goes, you're going to be a god amongst Globers with this, beat me and berate me, that's never going to happen, is it? Right? But if it got to the point where he's frustrated with a piece of Globe information for whatever reason, and Brian's on the guest panel and we're just having to sit back and tolerate his fury. That's very different to just being berated in debate as we try and get our flat Earth winning point across to him. That isn't the objective. So he'll understand that, you know, we're standoffish when there's confrontation in regards to a globe education for him. Obviously so, because there's literally then zero benefit to anybody when that happens. So the conversation's going to shut down, but for the ranting. But if that can be spun, trimmed out as, look at Peterson shouting at Nathan about how wrong he is about a piece of globe information that he's trying to be trained on. Well, okay, I mean, that might be wonderful for globers, and it might make him a god amongst globers. I don't know that, though, do I? It's just speculation. But the information will be right and true and well-researched and documented and cited and globe-related. And will put him in a better position where, currently, it's a bit frustrating for us, another advantage here, by spin, that it's a bit boring dealing with idiots like Simon Dan who don't understand the rhetoric. Yeah, occasionally you get a nice little juicy soundbite, you and your reference frames are ruined. Stuttering at the beginning, but you and your reference frames are ruined because he knows what balls up he's made. Well, wouldn't it be nice to have an opponent that really comes up through the ranks? The dark knight of our opponents with a really sharp sword. Well, how sharp? Well, we were the ones who sharpened it.
So are you ultimately, is this like the glorified propping up of ultimately going back and forth with a genuine, potentially casual, actual glober and not anti-flat earther?
At this point, he seems new enough to not necessarily be an anti-flat earther beyond what you've been trained to be as a human in this world, as a Western world occupier. His general demeanour strikes me as that as what a normie would be if they were triggered by the subject and got here. Now, that does not say that he's not that new. Maybe he's been here for 5 years. I don't know, and it doesn't matter. What I'm saying is he's green in terms of what his knowledge actually demonstrates. And he seems, at least to a degree, and it might just be a false impression I got whilst watching Flatzoid respond to him, that he seemed amiable. Yeah, he had all the usual ad homs. Don't start putting in the comments, he called you a stupid blah blah blah. Yeah, I know. It's a hint that I'm getting off one individual. And that individual, Planet Peterson, may not be that guy that we end up going, welcome, here is Globe Rob. Hi, I'm Globe Rob. And he's got 5,000 subscribers. And then a year from now, while Globe Rob and Flat Earth Debate, under probably maybe a different name or a different guise, but it'll be us and our knowledge about Globe being imparted on some Globe believer. Now, again, you might say, well, again, how does this have an advantage to you as a flat earther? We know where the arguments go. Now, I don't have to explicitly state this. If you've been watching for a while, why can we relinquish all those arguments? Good though we are with them and exemplary though we are in our understanding, why can we now relinquish them? Yeah? Now, without saying it explicitly, if you can't read between the lines in that regard, then you don't understand the plot that that will thicken as time progresses. But ultimately, we don't need to argue flat earth with anti-flat earthers anymore. But they absolutely, in the algorithm, need us to be challenged. That's what they do, and that's what offers them their advantage in the algorithm. Let's give it them. Right, Peterson,
So
just some dude that he can offer it in the first instance. It might not be him, though. Go ahead, Eli.
So in turn, and it's genius, what we actually need is a more competent and prepared globe earther to actually have an actual interesting conversation, because no one wants to see Mike Tyson fight a bum.
Yeah.
So we kind of actually want to build a culture where these guys actually know what they're talking about, because people can go, they actually know what citations are and the difference between a citation and a source. And so now that they're doing that and we're doing that also, it only leads to one result. But that would be a great world if that's how it actually went, right?
It'd be nice to not brace against... Exactly. It'd be nice to not brace against incorrect rhetoric that is only being utilised because in the moment, relinquishment of a globe earth claim gets you a point over a flat earther. Now, that's the standard for globe earthers currently. Well, I'm saying that whoever it may be, Globe Rob, for instance, there is no Globe Rob, I've made him up, but Globe Rob sees the advantage and goes, I can distinguish myself in the algorithm by having a better knowledge acquired from my opponents in the first instance. So I know the ins and outs of the argument, and because it's come from my opponents, subtly, if I was Globe Rob, I'd be thinking, I want to know how their arguments fail, and subtly I'll try and get out of them at any opportunity, because those are the bits that I'll want to cut out with a link to his video in every single video, and vice versa, mutually beneficial to both parties. But ultimately, both parties are going to, under the surface, we're enemies. But if that's made explicitly clear from the off, but an agreement in principle is made that while we might falter, there might be tensions risen on both sides occasionally, we'll have an understanding that that is not the objective we are trying to achieve. From a YouTube point of view, I want algorithmic love. I want to stand a cut above all the other people who've already carved out their niche in this YouTube algorithm. You need something better to carve out your niche. Currently, he's not succeeding in that because he's a very green to the subject, not very well versed in his own rhetoric. Just another one in a pile of anti-flat earthers calling us stupid. Right? What's he got to offer YouTube? Nothing. That's why he won't grow. He's not going to be the next Simon Dan. But he could be. If he had something better than everyone else on the market, so to speak, all with a YouTube hat on, I can take advantage of that. If I piggyback on something, on someone that can niche their way out a new little crevice in the algorithm, and I'm alongside him, no matter how small the advantage, that's better than no advantage, isn't it? That's the way I have to spin this to myself to see that this is actually worth doing, where I literally see no other avenue to gain algorithmic support from YouTube. I don't see any other way of achieving that with a YouTube hat on. So you think, okay, are you going to sacrifice your integrity to achieve this? No. Well, how can you, number one, exploit the knowledge you've got, and number two, retain your integrity? Well, then you need a third party who's actually not on your side, because it's the only way you can achieve that, in my mind. Now, again, I want it in the comments. I want this video to generate a lot of comments in this regard. So I know that I've already appealed to the YouTube chat a couple of times, but I really want to know, is this the right call? Because if it all goes south, yeah, I'll own up to it. I'll put my hands in the air. But if you all condemn me for it, then obviously I don't want that to be the outcome. If there is any chance that's the outcome, I'd rather just not do it, because it's been 10 years of work building up my channel. I don't want you to all desert me, because you literally see me as just sleeping with the enemy, because the algorithmic love and actually putting out more globe earth rhetoric is worthy, rather than the overall advantage that you as a flat earth channel punting the fact that we measure earth flat will be propped up by a mutually supportive YouTuber who can get some algorithmic love. Anyway, hopefully that'll generate some discussion in the comments. Obviously, it's all very much welcome, and hopefully there'll be some back and forth from people who respond to this. I'm glad it's been the main focus of the show, as we're 3/4 of the way through now. The live show, that is. 86 people watching. Please share the show. LVA Paul says, great idea.
Are you so basically?
I just want to cut in real good. I think all publicity is good publicity. To be honest with you, I don't see no way. Even if it do go south, as long as you handle yourself professionally and get your point out, I don't think it's going to be anything. I don't think anything going to be wrong with that, because you are presenting yourself to maybe a new audience. But I believe Nathan, you pretty much already like mainstream. People already know about you in this, I guess, in this debate or this flat Earth world. It's just that they don't see you out there. That's probably maybe the only thing that's holding you back, is that they don't see you out there since. But all of the anti-flat earthers talk about you. All of them make videos about you. Pretty much Mattoon. That goes from Mattoon, the Planet Nord guy, Simon Dan, Dave McKean. All these guys make videos about you, so you pretty much already mainstream within that world. It's just now everybody want to see if you would engage with them, because the stick is that Nathan Oakley is the bad guy. He only stays on his show and this and that. And since Jaren and all of them, they decided to play division, and now they want to they put you on that side. They put you on the other side too. Now people are really wondering if you really take a good look at it. This is the perfect time to actually come out. Because now people were wondering like, oh, well, we see Whitsitt, we see Jaren, we see, Flat Earth Day or Brian, whatever. We see them. Oh, now Nathan Oakley. Well, let's see Nathan Oakley. Let's see what Nathan Oakley could say. What do he have to say? So I believe that's going to, bring that audience in there, because all of you guys is fighting for the same audience. So that audience actually see you out there and starting to engage with people, especially the newer Globers. I do think that's a real good move, because the audience that's already interested in what you have to say, but it's still while you still being censored, and then you still get all of these anti-flat earthers saying don't go on your show, don't go on your show. Now, if they actually see you go on their show, go on a neutral platform or even their show, and they see what they're saying is not actually true, that you is actually willing to listen and willing to just basically get your points out, and you're very professional and handle yourself in that manner, then people will be like, hey, this guy's not like what they say he is. He's just, he a little wild, but he's not, anything like that. Let me go check his show out. Let's see what he's been talking about this whole time. I'm very interested. Or at the very least, they're going to come on just to, do what they already do, troll. But all of that bring you, algorithm love. All of that will bring you an audience, and it's putting yourself out there. Even if it goes south, you will still gain, a larger audience. You will still be in the front of a new audience, if you in the sense that you could bring back to you. Plus, you can make clips, and you can do what they do. You can make clips about your interactions with them as well, and maybe you could trick YouTube in that way.
Well, maybe that won't be the case either, because as I say, I'm piggybacking off the potential of someone else to take advantage of an algorithm that I can't take advantage of unless I compromise my integrity. Just a quick shout out to OBE Lines. He says, Tuesday's show was real excellence. Grateful to have access to members only uncut and after show. Oh, thank you very much, OBE Lines, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Subscribe to OBE Lines. He's a videographer, so check him out. Click on his little super chat, and I'm sure it'll take you to his channel. Click on the subscribe button. It's really easy. And you'll enjoy some of his stuff, which we can't cover here, because he covers a lot more conspiratorial subjects that, when it comes to the Flat Earth debate specifically, we condemn the discussion taking place, because it distracts from the facts about how it's measured. Now, that hasn't always been the case here, but it doesn't mean that I obviously find those subjects interesting, as do a lot of other Flat Earthers who have found their way here through that road, very specifically. So, there's a good chance that there's going to be a lot of people in the audience who are interested in what OBE Lines does, so check him out, subscribe today, and also, as he's shouting out my members, if you did want to become a member, there's a video that's taken from that very show that will be up as soon as it uploads. I'm actually uploading it as we're doing this show. Not normally that great at multitasking, but as I had a super chat and a reminder, I'd edited it just before I started the live show, and it's going out to members 5 minutes time when it finishes uploading. I've automatically set it to go to members once it's uploaded, so you can check that out. Can't remember what I called it. Measurements of Earth. It's flat. That's the name of the video. But it's essentially what we were discussing on yesterday's show. One of the participants of Earth Discussions, is that the name of the server? Earth Awakenings, that's the one, was denying that the ground position and the ground that we're measuring and referencing is the ground. So it's that little section with a lot of rumpusing. And indeed Whitsitt, who makes a star appearance and summarises the point and gets us back on track, points out that there's a lot of colour commentary and distractions from the point. And then, no offence to you, Gio, but you then discussed an internal issue about whether or not we should have hand raising in the server. Whitsitt cuts that off too and is like, rebuttal. So Whitsitt, as much as we give him crap, right, for things that we don't agree with that he postulates, mainly ether, when he's on fire, man, he's really good. And, I gave him a lot of props yesterday. I'm going to give him a lot of props now because he's in that video. And you'll see exactly what I mean. You'll hear him and go, man, that's some top moderation right there, because he gets the subject back on track, points out that there's colour commentary coming that's unneeded, shuts up one of our own, Brian, a flat earther, when he's doing the same thing. I didn't do it with Neil. Technically, I did a worse job, but I was the participant as opposed to a moderator. But the whole thing was made smoother by Whitsitt. So props to you, Whitsitt, if you're listening. You're on that video. It will get released to the public probably on Saturday. But for now, it's members only. Check it out if you're a member. Become a member if you haven't done already.
Hey, Nathan, not only did he get you back on, hold on, not only did he get you back on track, but he backed up your argument pretty damn good.
Yeah, he reiterated the concentric circles being used with the ground position for Polaris. On the ground. What's that? Not the ground! Yeah. So, yeah, it's nice to have wits have my back. I'm not going to lie, man. It gave me a warm, fuzzy feeling as I relaxed into my chair, knowing that I hadn't got to do it. And it's far harder if you're a participant, right? If you're the person debating, pointing out that all your opponents are giving you colour commentary, is you having to hold the mic to do that, taking away from your point and your time. You need a third party to do it. So to have Witsit do it, man, like I say, I was just so chuffed. He's going to get so much props for that. Such a small gesture too, because it was the right thing to do. He paid attention to the point, understood the point, reiterated the point, stopped the colour commentary, got the argument back on track. Wonderful.
Can I say something real quick about the overriding punchline to what you were talking about earlier? Because you can grant them all their fallacious logic. You can stay quiet while they preach about their doctrines of sphere, but it's still measured flat. At the end of the, that's the only
my
thing that
point,
matters.
John. Right, it's a win-win.
Yes, what John's saying, although I'm not going to ascribe it as, you're right. You have also pointed this out in times gone by, although that wasn't going through my mind when I've been thinking about this, John. But you can ascribe that to it, absolutely. But that wouldn't necessarily be my aim game, because if you were him, let's say back to Globe Joe or Planet Peterson or whoever it is that ends up potentially doing this, and someone will do this. Let's say I, at the end of each show, after showing tangent plane transposed to hell, wrap the show up by going, because Earth's measured flat. If I did that on every show, the relationship would deteriorate immediately. In other words, there's certain aspects on their Globe show, even though it would be simulcast, that would be to say I'd be broadcasting it, they'd be broadcasting it, or if it's behind the scenes, I'd be recording it, and you would hope he would be recording it so he can publish it to his audience and my audience with mutual links. That's the whole point. That's the only benefit. So that would be the thing that I'd be stressing. This is all I want. So if you published a video that we're discussing orbital motion and you didn't put my link in, it's like, well, that would shatter the relationship for me, because all I'm trying to get is a bit of algorithmic love where I don't get any. Speaking of which, I keep asking, I just want to, last thing on Peterson specifically. He commented on Flatsoid's video, and I responded, did you put a link to my video in your video that you responded to? That was my first question. Then I told him, because he said he didn't understand, so I thought, although sarcastic, because I said you're welcome at the end of it, I answered his question. So, hopefully this points out that I'm not trying to be a dick, right? So, he explained that when he heard the orthographic argument, that he didn't understand it. Because he disclaimed that, in other words, he had humility, I answered it. I went and dug him up a new citation. I went and searched for it and found a reasonably decent EDU citation for the juxtaposition between perspective and orthographic. Cited it in quotes and then put a separate comment with the link so it didn't remove it because I'm a non-member or whatever of Flatsoid's channel. So if the link disappears, so what? It's in quotes with a spaced out hyperlink so it doesn't flag any bots to remove it. So I've answered him. There you go. This is the essence of the argument. Again, while I was doing this, it was making me think, what am I doing here? I'm actually explaining to him how an orthographic view works. This is to his advantage. He's now understanding better how his argument works and gaining a better understanding through this cited, quoted source from a decent educational source about how perspective and orthographic works. This is bettering him. I'm like, surely this could work to our advantage. Hence, that's how my thought progression has gone. Does that make sense?
Are you talking about the orthographic view that uses surface level as a horizontal plane?
Yes, John.
John, that's extreme. It can never be a disadvantage.
Yeah, but it would take someone to point that out. Yes, Neil, but do you see how not adding that on the end? Let's say this was a discussion between me and Planet Peterson right now, and we go through tangential planes, but I don't add that on to the end, right? So in all instances, we're still measuring from a horizontal plane of reference. Therefore, Earth is flat. If that wasn't added on at the end, the inference is all that's required for a mutually beneficial stream that both of us were doing. Do you understand, John? You couldn't be there.
Oh, I'm not invited. I got it.
Yeah, with that attitude. I'm just saying, from Planet Peterson's perspective, my show, Flat Earth Debate, this show, is about showing Earth measured flat. That show, whatever it was called, would be about learning how the globe works.
But you got to realize it's measured flat to show how the globe works.
That
so.
would absolutely be in the explanation, and it would be from a really well trusted by him globe Earth source. So when we show how the plane of the ecliptic, the plane of the equator, the equatorial plane rather, how any of these work with a globe wrapped around them, it'll be phrased, this is how the globe works. And then you describe how it has an equatorial plane in the center of that globe and how the angles go through the globe, through the surface that you measured initially with the tangent plane out to the GP. Now, I almost sound like a globe proponent when I say it like that, don't I? Because I haven't declared how there's 3 flat planes just been utilised. But that's an inference that you, as an advanced
You're going to laugh.
Go on.
I knew you were going to laugh. You're going to laugh. There's no way you can go through that spiel and not laugh a little bit, at least to yourself. I know I can't do it anymore.
Well, nobody's laughing when they want to get their exemplary heliocentric undoing through to an anti-flat earth proponent and are being rumpused or charged with giving him a flat earth silver bullet or something along those lines. When that happens, let's use Brian as an example. Do you think Brian is laughing when he's getting rumpused because he's explaining how a globe works to make a point? No. Wouldn't it be better if the opponent knew in their heart of hearts that it wasn't going to be summarized with, yeah, you see this flat plane? I've just explained how the globe works. See, that's a flat plane there. Yeah. We never get that now. And only in a world that could never be existing will a globe Earth proponent allow us to do that to them. I'll never be successful in pitching it. And if I did do that, then they'd just say, sod this. You're only here to get a gotcha.
The globe Earth is a gotcha, though.
By implication. Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't need to be explicitly stated, does it? Now, up until now, because we've transitioned from flat earth believers to flat earth knowers, we have been explicitly stating it. But that's to ourselves. That's because of our own lack of confidence and our own bloody argument. We're beyond that now. So I don't feel we need to explicitly state it if all we're doing is disseminating our exemplary globe understanding to somebody who's greener than we.
And you can do that without laughing.
Yeah. Brian does it all the time, and he's not laughing when he does it because he's not putting it to an opponent who's friendly but ultimately wants to be laughed at, because it never happens. So what actually happens? They are rumpusing him. Wouldn't it be better if you're like, this guy really wants to soak this information up because it's advantageous to him, and all Brian's doing is going through how, I don't know, elevation angle measurements transposed into the equatorial plane in the center of a sphere work. You know, that's a complex globe affirming issue. Are you saying I can't laugh instead of go wink wink with a noise? Yeah, I can do that.
The last time you just tried to do it a minute ago and giggled.
Didn't I? Went as in I'm winking at you. So I'm saying I can do it without laughing. It's inferred. Now we know it's inferred, but I know for a fact if Planet Peterson was watching this now, he wouldn't know. He doesn't understand what we're talking about. Right? Well, I want him to. I want him to understand this discussion. And it doesn't have to involve me laughing at him because there's a flat plane being used. I can just explain how the flat plane in the middle of the globe is used to affirm that the angle measured off a tangent plane is used to get the angle to the star so it can be transposed into the middle of Earth on the equatorial plane. That is how it works on a globe, isn't it, John? Have I said anything wrong? Is it not exemplary globe understanding that's just disseminated?
That's exactly how it works on a globe.
On a globe, in a globe. Yeah, that's how it works.
I'm just going to have to willingly use on and in incorrectly for that.
Oh, the tangent plane that gives them their angle off the tangent from a single point on the globe surface is then transposed into the globe. So their on a tangent point measurement is then transposed into the globe on the equatorial plane. No laughter, no inaccuracies, globe affirming. Right. That's what
But that's not on a globe.
Tangent was on a globe. That's how it's depicted, though, isn't it? That is correct. How it would be depicted in a diagram if you went and looked it up. So it's like, no, this guy's lying to me when he's deceiving me with on a globe, in a globe. No, you look at the diagram. There's your tangent. It's meeting a single point at you, your feet, your surface level on the globe. It dangles beneath with the equatorial plane inside it. That's the measurement point off the tangent on a globe. Now, to measure it up with the celestial sphere, you need to wrap the celestial sphere around the globe and the equatorial plane inside it and move the angle measured from the tangent in the globe. But all of that would be accurate if you went to look it up, wouldn't it? Who's doing that? Neil, you're off mute.
Sorry.
Yeah, but that's how it works in a globe.
Yeah. So I'd explain.
Just as long as you don't point that out.
No,
just don't point that out, I guess.
You do point it out. That's how it works. And there's a globe in the picture. So that's good enough, right? And we've explained how it works with the globe in the picture and the tangent on the globe and the equatorial plane in the globe. On a globe, in a globe, it would be explained to an extent that the person, in this case in the example, Globey Joe, with his budding YouTube channel, green though he is, understands how tangent planes give them measurements with a GP that can be transposed down to the equatorial plane, extending out beyond the horizon and beyond the equator on an extended flat plane for GPs to work on. On a globe, in a globe is a shortcut to describing how the globe describes it. No point, no need to put in the extra flat Earth bit that's literally being used within the globe anyway. It's there and you have to use it to describe how it works in the globe. So you just explain how it works in the globe to the globey, who should say thank you at the end and realise that he's had nothing but an exemplary understanding of how celestial navigation works on a globe, in a globe. Anyway, someone find me his email address and I'll email on bended knee with a proposal that seems mutually beneficial. Far better. Let's not slant it. I was going to say far more advantageous to him than I, but let's not do that. Yeah, it would still be a proposal I was putting to him, so he's still got to be pondering it and seeing if there is actually advantages. And bearing in mind that I am the enemy, there's a good chance he'll just immediately go, no, this is a trap. So, but nevertheless, it'd be nice to make, as it has been our example in this particular instance, Planet Peterson the first person that actually does get approached, although it may not be him. So yeah, if someone can drop me his contact information, I will contact him personally with a white flag, telling him I'll come in peace, and hopefully laying out what I've laid out in this live show to the best of my ability to him. And hopefully he'll see that there is advantages to have, and he can actually build his channel in a better way that potentially he could have done without help from his opponent. And I will hopefully reap some algorithmic rewards from having my links in his videos when we discuss his soon-to-be exemplary globe knowledge. But with that, I'm going to say if you're watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
what a day! What a lovely day!